What's the creepiest thing you've ever experienced when you've been alone? I was walking home from a bar one night when I was at uni and heard what sounded like a blood-curdling female scream. I was absolutely petrified, made a cursory glance to see if I could easily see what was going on, but when I couldn't see anyone I sprinted home. It was only months later that I saw a video online and realized what it was. It was a fucking fox. Their screams are horrifying. I saw a grey fox at night once and it really creeped me out. I can't quite explain why, because I like animals, and I particularly like dogs and their relatives. But something about the fox's face and the way he moved made me feel like I was seeing a ghost. I got chills from it. Foxes in most cultures are seen as mischievous and sly, and in a lot of cultures foxes are known for shape shifting too. My favorite legend must be the fox's wedding. It's a Japanese folklore tale which is about how foxes shape shift into beautiful women to seduce men and unmarry them. On the night of their wedding they eat their husband's liver. If a fox eats 10 livers it can fully become human. Thought I'd share to add to the creepy vibe. Haha. Once when I was home alone at night, I was just playing my Xbox when I noticed at the corner of my eye that my laptop on the other side of the room had turned the face recognition on. Even though I was nowhere near it and not in its camera view, and it had been in the same exact position for about an hour without doing anything. Doesn't sound as creepy writing it down now, but I nearly shouted at the time. Your FBI guy done messed up. Lmao haha. Laying in bed, and you hear the dog door flap back and forth, yet your dogs are on your bed. True story. Found out rats like to come in that way. Went and got 2 cats. Don't hear that anymore. Rats leave even if a cat is present and is not directly chasing them, since it is their default predator. Sort of evolutionary trait. Like a person walks to a beach and sees an alligator and slowly walks away, even if the alligator haven't seen the human. Friend of mine had rats who were stealing the cat's kibble and living their best life doing so. Neither cat nor rats cared about each other. When it was night I always heard my mother coughing downstairs. One weekend my parents and my brother went on a trip together and I was home alone. And I heard the coughing. So it was not my mom. Once my grandma was out of town to visit my uncle who lives in another state. I was watering her plants, feeding her dog, checking her mail, all that stuff. I went inside and her TV was turned on. Turned it off. Went into a different part of the house to water the plants she kept in a den-like area. Walked back through the living room and the TV was on again. This time the Golf Network. My pap loved napping to golf. Like every other 60 something on the planet. Turned it off and went about my business. Came back a few days later to repeat this routine and some of her figurines had been turned around. He'd sometimes do this because it annoyed my grandma. Probably not creepy, but it makes me chuckle. This is the cutest creepy story ever. Me and my mom saw someone or something watching us sleep. I was about 5 or 6 years old and my mom was putting me to sleep. I fell asleep, and when I woke up in the middle of the night I saw a dark figure like a man standing in front of the window. I woke my mom up almost about to cry, and I was hoping it was just a tree or something, because we were on the 2nd floor of the house. But when she woke up she also saw what happened, and told me to stay put and don't move. She quickly ran to the living room, because we had guests over and everyone was still up drinking. She told everyone what happened, and for 3 hours everyone went out and searched around the house. What I didn't tell her was that when she left the window started to rattle as if someone was trying to open it. I was scared and never slept on my own in that room until I was 8. That's actually terrifying. I can't, for the life of me, understand why the mom would leave her child in the room alone as this is going on. Probably figured that leaping into action and going outside was better. Hindsight is 20/20. When I was a kid, I used to spend a lot of time alone in my basement. We had a TV down there, so I was down there pretty late most nights in the summer. One pretty late night, I swear I heard rustling from behind me, but when I turned around, there was nothing there. I felt a really sharp breath on the back of my neck, hard enough to blow my hair. Took off up the steps, leaving everything on downstairs. I grabbed my mom and we went back downstairs to check it out. Everything was turned off. I didn't hang out downstairs anymore. It was my parents' basement when I was visiting home during uni. I thought it was haunted. Stuff would vanish or seem to move on its own. Sometimes I'd hear footsteps upstairs when no one was home and investigate, and indeed I was alone. Then I started literally missing time and finding myself in different places down in the basement. There were other things. Turned out, carbon monoxide leak and poisoning. I was lucky I wasn't there for extended periods and it was full, so windows were open. OMG. You're lucky you're not dead. This happened a few years ago. It was about 9 PM and I was returning from practice. I would say I'm a pretty paranoid guy and usually overthink stuff. As I was walking down the road I had this terrible gut feeling. Like my heart dropped. I immediately felt like I should look behind me. I turned around and saw a man, pretty muscular, around his middle 30s, staring at me. I froze and suddenly the same gut feeling returned. I don't know why, but I had that urge to scream. The guy actually took off running. Probably because he thought I was calling for help. When I got home I told my parents. I was 14 at the time, and we called the police. A few days later a police officer knocks on our door and starts asking me questions. He had a picture of the guy from that night. I could tell it was him due to him being bald. And from his muscular body. It turns out they had already caught the guy and just wanted to confirm if it was him. I later find out this guy has been guilty for murder, molestation, etc. He was also carrying a knife the night I saw him. Really messed up guy. Edit. I was a really smart boy at the age of 14. So of course I didn't go to my house immediately, in case he followed me again. I just kinda went as far from my house before returning. A friend of mine standing in my yard at 4 AM or so was up doing homework. The next day he confessed he had simply been riding through the neighborhood and saw me and tried to catch my attention to wave at me. Super nice guy. Hasn't happened since. Funny. I can't imagine the WTF feeling in the moment though. I've told this before. My mom works night shifts, so I was home a lot often. I went downstairs to make some dinner and take it back to my room. But before leaving the kitchen I locked the back door. I go upstairs and then I heard this awful bang and scrape noise. I was so scared, but I still went to check what it was. I opened the back door and I saw 3 bouquets of roses. I called my mom crying about it. She said a guy friend came by and wanted to give it to us, mom, sister, me, for Valentine's Day. I told her about how the door was suddenly unlocked and she said that he doesn't have a key. You can unlock most sliding doors by lifting them up while sliding. It's not a sliding door. It's just like the front door to our house. It only had one lock, which was a deadbolt. I got off the bus one night coming home from work. A guy also got off at my stop, but I didn't think much of it and started walking the couple blocks I had to walk to get to my apartment. I heard footsteps behind me and realized that guy was still walking behind me. Okay, maybe he walks the same route. Whatever. As I was getting closer to my building I felt like the steps sounded faster, like half walk, half running toward me. I started to panic because at this time I didn't have a cell phone or any way to call for help. I noticed another man walking on the opposite side of the street, and he started crossing towards me as well. At that moment I got to my yard and jogged up to the door and threw it open, and as I did I heard the one behind me say, "Hey, wait." As I slammed the door shut and locked it, there was a window in the door and we locked eyes. He was standing in the middle of the yard just staring at me, way closer than I even thought he was. He turned and said something to the guy that had been on the other side of the road that I couldn't hear, and they walked off together. I was kind of stunned as to what just happened. I had a heavy, nauseous feeling in my stomach, like I'd just barely escaped something horrible. After that I always had my boyfriend meet me at the bus stop and walk me home. Here's a funny one. I was home alone at watching TV in the family room. It's a dark and windy night. and I think I hear something thumping outside the patio doors. I figure it's something to do with the wind, so I ignore it. The thumping continues, and suddenly I realize that it sounds like somebody walking on the back patio. The curtains are closed across the patio door, so I get up, walk over, and throw the curtains open. There's a guy standing right on the other side of the glass, looking in. I jump back, terrified, my heart racing. The guy jumps back also. He was as scared as I was, because he was my reflection. Our garage had these huge windows at the back that look out into our backyard, and one night I had to go to the garage for a drink out of the fridge we kept in there, and I saw someone out of the corner of my eye seemingly walking through my backyard. Scared the hell out of me, and I jumped. It was when I jumped that I realized what I was seeing was just a shadowy reflection of myself. No one walking through my backyard at all. I felt very silly. Once I was up late on my phone in my bed watching YouTube until I accidentally dropped my phone down the side of my bed. When I went to pick it up I heard a sort of distorted voice saying, "Get back into bed now." It was your FBI agent getting tired of watching YouTube with you. That is harsh. Oh sorry, want me to change it? It was night, and I had to take a crap. I ran to the bathroom, but I felt the whole room having a weird vibe, and it was cold af being winter and the heater was on. So I went to the bathroom. I didn't close the door, because I had to take this massive shit. 3 minutes in I was on my phone minding my business, until I get a vibe that someone was watching me. From my peripheral vision I swear to God I saw something run across the other room. I thought it was something else, but I looked to the door again, and saw a shadow moving. I wiped, closed and locked the door, and laid my ass to sleep in the tub with the lights on. I got more scared when I woke up from a loud banging noise, but it was my dad needing to pee. This is the one experience I've ever had that truly made my skin crawl. Anyway, long time ago during World of Warcraft original days, it was a weekend. I was pulling an all-nighter. I stepped out onto my balcony to have a smoke. The balcony was in a little alcove, so nobody could tell I was there. It was 4th floor, high enough that people on the ground didn't see. Anyway, it's like 3:30 AM. I'm sitting in my deck chair zoning out when I hear the faint tinkle of the ice cream man. WTF, as I watch the most rusted, beat up, jacked ice cream truck I have ever seen slowly cruises down the residential blocks. My balcony had a great view of the surrounding neighborhood and I watched for maybe 15 minutes as this guy methodically went up and down the streets, dootling his little melody, in the humid stillness of the summer night. It was creepy as fuck. At his closest point to me, I could see one huge, hairy Poppy style forearm sticking out the window. The guy had to be a huge monster. For sure he was looking for someone to kill. I stayed very still, and when he was out of lows of my balcony I quietly went inside and shut all the curtains and made sure the doors were locked. Probably selling drugs under the guise of ice cream. You'd be amazed how many druggies are active at that hour. My friend once approached a ghetto ice cream truck and asked for a particular ice cream. The guy got excited and said, "Oh, you want crack?" Friend walked off in disgust. I was watching a haunting in Connecticut home alone at around 3 AM when the TV turned on by itself in the basement. I did a full house sweep with a sword and a taser but found nothing. I want a sword now. I'll have to buy one when I get my own place. When I was around 10, I came back home after school and started doing my homework and the TV suddenly turned on. I went and turned it off. A few minutes later it opened again. I was starting to get freaked out, so I called my mom. She tells there's a ghost in the house. Leave. I'm 10. My heart stopped and I almost cried. Then she starts laughing and tells me not to worry and that my dad will check it out once he gets home. Turned out to be some sort of automatic thing that would turn on the TV. Edit. Bad translation. Idiot here reading this at 12:30 AM. Now I'm never sleeping again. I'm reading this at 1:44 AM. God bless me. RIP.